battery's still working the remote, that's one thing. The back's beginning to ache now because I'm standing up. But yeah, ooh, hang on. So yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat. If you want to build a brewery, obviously you need the space. I can't remember what size this room is. The shed's 20 foot that way and 16 foot that way. And I occupy probably 75% of it in this area. This wasn't the plan, as I said in the intro. I can't remember because that is weeks ago, when everyone was then winding up the brew space, Shed Envy, where have all the old YouTubers gone videos, and I'm just now catching up. So yeah, the plan would have been to have had it on the back of the garage because it's ideal for water, drainage and electric, none of which I had down here initially. But the shed I had there was my railway shed. It's now gone, so you never know, there could be a brewery 3.0, but not yet. I have got a shed load. Oh, no pun intended. I haven't got as many sheds. There is a plan afoot. Many small sheds or one large one. Yeah, so there's going to be a big one coming on my other channel, but that's for railway, not beer or all my crap. I have been using a lot of it up to build the roof on the garage and redo sheds and things like that to try and get rid of all my maintenance related, DIY related surplus, because obviously I'm not actively working anymore in any employ, either for myself or paid employed by a company, due to health issues. Which brings me on to the other thing I've sort of been preoccupied, obviously sorting health, well, trying to sort health issues. It's not an incurable condition, but getting a diagnosis and then all the sub things that come off of the diagnosis. I've had to wait 22 months for a DNA gene report. I've now been waiting a year for a lung function test, which should be hopefully this week if they don't cancel it. So yeah, I've sort of had that with sort of since I've packed up work, and basically I was off sick work 6 months, and then you go on another 6 month thing with the government. I can't remember what it is now, but within a matter of weeks you fill a 50-page form in to designate your illness, conditions, what you can and can't do, and all this sort of stuff, and they decide you can or cannot seek alternative employment even if you can't do your current employment. Certain aspects of my condition meant that I could go on sick permanently and enjoy living on £259 a fortnight, which doesn't leave you a lot of money to play with for buying ingredients or paying your frigging car insurance. So I shan't be going to London to pay the ULEZ. Not that I was planning. Oh, bit bitter that is. I think it's the old garlic bread I've just consumed. That's why I didn't have one of my nice beers. If you saw my post on Brew, I did call into my old works and pick up a few beers, and they were kind enough to not charge me. Don't tell the boss. They do watch the channel. Well, they did. They might not know, because obviously I don't do beer reviews because I haven't really been active on the channel and hadn't been prior. So yeah, they were sort of like, we're getting back off track. If you're still here, thank you. It's going to be a long one if you haven't already established that. There's a lot of catching up to do, really, isn't there? I did put my roof video on this channel as well as my other one to basically put some content on the channel to just sort of, yeah, still alive and kicking just about occasionally if I don't get a spasm. So yeah, really I've waned from the hobby quite simply, like many of us have. And the room that's got all my ingredients in it is also a room full of all my railway related items, which I've been spending much money on because it's not a cheap hobby. Most hobbies that blokes pursue aren't cheap. Just ask any guy that freshwater fishes, how much his fishing poles cost. Yeah, and guess what's in another shed? Fishing gear and shooting gear. Yeah. So, you know, no excuses really. I just, like many people, you just don't have the time to make the time. Like I said, life gets in the way of life. You do other things, and setting aside, you know, an evening to plan a recipe and get your ingredients ready. And as many people will say, you spend more time cleaning. You know, I'll come in here and spend half a day just cleaning the room without sort of going full sanitising on the equipment prior to using it, and your kegs and everything, and your fermenters. So yeah, I mean, obviously I have got theoretically time on my hands, being a non-working person. I opted not to cash in. Well, I cashed in my meagre pension, but I didn't live on it. Was not a pension that's going to top me up to you know, any holidays in Gran Canaria or anything. So yeah, it's been a bit of a, you know, this is the last thing on my mind with health issues and things, and obviously, as some of you know, my wife's also disabled, so these other priorities really, and I'm trying to still do the stuff that I had, you know, a sort of video 3 years ago of me in my temporary shed that I bought to house all the stuff from the railway shed that was leaking and destroyed everything and rotted away. To basically say then that things were getting on top of me, not mentally. I have had issues, as many people do, with depression and stuff, but at the minute, despite what's going on, I remain solid mentally. Well, as solid as I normally am anyway. But yeah, it's just not a priority. I have sort of had, you know, I was in the middle of fitting a kitchen that my wife had been beating on about. In 2019 I built the conservatory that I borrowed money to build 15 years ago. Lost my job and then had to use the money to live on while I was unemployed. Then I got the job at Beers of Europe. 2019 I was off sick. I built this room and I started the conservatory and sort of done that as and when I could do bits and pieces just to sort of keep going. Then I went back to work part-time. This is going to be a bit of a life story when running. So yeah, the other jobs, I was in the middle of the kitchen and we had another heavy downpour, and if you saw the video on the first opening of the roof, the water was like Niagara Falls over the electrics. So I had to stop, do the roof. I still haven't gone back to the kitchen. I'm now doing the central heating system that we took out of the old conservatory, I think 6 years ago, that was buggered. And we've not had any central heating. And I haven't bought coal for the last 2 years because the price went through the roof with, I suppose, deliberate taxation, I think, and changes in the rules to stop you from using coal or make it too expensive to use. And, you know, when you're paying £400 a tonne, plus I bought a quarter of nuggets for night time use, and then suddenly it's £600 and nearly £700 a tonne during COVID. It's amazing how it affected the coal that you're importing from Colombia, the other side of the world. So quite why once it got to England the price doubled. But again, I think that's a bit of the old COVID tax. So my algorithm's probably flashing up on a Google algorithm now, in it, because I've mentioned the word COVID 3-4 times. Who cares? I can't monetize this channel anyway because I did pass 1,000 subscribers as well, didn't I? That was a non-event. That magic number of 1,000 subscribers that everyone thinks must be important because then you can earn money off YouTube, but you need 4,000 watch hours per annum as well, and I don't think I've got 400. I think I maintain about 100-ish per annum, purely for people watching the DIY stuff. Because obviously these weekly blogs that I used to do, once you've 100 people watch them, that's it. So yeah, that sort of, I suppose, brings you almost up to speed before I go into full waffle mode, really. So yeah, that was it. You know, life got in the way of life, along with illnesses and, you know, just the normal shit you have to deal with in life, families and things. I lost my mum during COVID, and my godmother, literally within a week of one another. They both, my mum had got dementia anyway, so she was in a home, and she'd got sort of quite a bad stage with the mental decay. You'd already lost her, so I put on the thing, you know, we'd lost her twice. Once to dementia, and COVID took the last piece. Ironically, she fell over in the home and was put in hospital for observation. Then got COVID whilst in hospital, and they basically sent her back to the home to die. And me godmother had exactly the same thing, like a fortnight before she'd fell over at home, was in hospital for obs, contracted COVID, and that wiped her out in a week. So yeah, that sort of put, it's just me dad left now. Me prior to my father-in-law died of lung cancer in 8 weeks the year before, so my mum died last February, I think it was, no, March. In February I went off work in March, unrelated. This was the year before actually. So I'd been going to my father-in-law's as well in the evenings till the night care nurse thing came in. So we'd lost him, and then a few months later, the following year, my godmother and my mum. Her mum got sepsis, and they basically left her to die. She was the same, dementia in a care home. So they writ her off as well. So there's just my dad left, who's still sort of struggling on his own at home. So yeah, there's been sort of like lots of family things going on where you end up having to run about and travel and things. I mean, my sister's done the bulk of it with me dad, because obviously I'm got my hands full with my missus. But then having said that, my son does like the lifting and lumping, and I just sort of do the other care aspects that come with the territory. With this bloody marriage thing, when they say sickness in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse. I've only got the richer left. Come on, pay up. Oh well, you know, at least I can still laugh, can't I? Hey, that's all I got left is humour. They can't tax that, can they? So, I don't know, well, shall we wind the video up? Congratulations to Rick Shaw reaching 1,000. I think he's the nearest active YouTuber, Brewtuber, to me up in, I think he's, I don't know whether he wants me to say, but near Waynfleet, Boston, a little bit further inland way. And I'm in the corner of West Norfolk near King's Lynn. And if anyone wants any hops, if you look on BrewTube, you'll see the post I put up with Cascade hops that are quite abundant. They're pretty much crispy now, so although it's a bit wet. So if anyone in my West Norfolk locale, Cams, Lincolnshire, pick your own. I can supply a ladder. I can even help you, but I'm not standing all day picking the bloody things. And the reason I know you say, well, why don't you do a beer and do a green hop beer? Well, I've got a 4 cubic fridge in that shed full of hops. I literally can't harvest the hops, dry them and freeze them and vac them and store them because I've got nowhere left. So yeah, I should brew. Which brings me to the other thing, now we're waffling on past my shut off point, is my ingredients. We've lost Wilkinson's, so the cheap beer yeast, the Nottingham strain or whatever it was, there's no more homebrew because that chain store is now gone, or is about to go. What's left of it. I've got a fridge behind you, one of those little tabletop ones, which has got all my packets of yeast in. I've lost hundreds of pounds worth of ingredients, yeasts. Yeah, I mean, I always kept the stuff in the house, the grains and the adjuncts, and not in here. Even if I'd had it in here, it'd have been sealed containers. But as you see, the humidity I'm just not keen on storing anything in here. It would be nice to free up the room in the house, but you know, there's like 150 kilos of grain and stuff, which I'm going to do a test to see if it's still viable, and do an experimental beer to see if you can brew a beer with 4-year-old grain. And actually some of the grain's even older than that, because I got it from work when Jason, one of the bosses, decided he was going to have a go at all grain brewing. Bought all the stuff and then never done it, and I'd been there 8 years before I got the stuff off of him. So yeah, the chances are the enzymes are dead, but you don't know unless you know. Or we could use that stuff to see if it will kick the enzymes or whatever. I don't know. It's worth an experiment, isn't it? If not, I've got a lot of chicken feed and I haven't got chickens anymore. So that's it really. I just haven't had the time, motivation or inclination to brew a beer. I've sort of more or less waned onto another hobby which has taken up my time. But never say never. I haven't spent the money I have on all of this dream brewery that a lot of people would die for, and it's took a lot of years to get here, to build it. You know, when the spark ignites, it's all here. And when I sort of get a chance to, now I've got the railway board out of here, because that takes a huge amount of space, even though it's modest by train standards. To get in again and clean it yet again, I'm going to have to winterise it ready, because I've got a hot water heater that's got standing water in it. There's the pipe and RO system, so I put electric heaters in there on the Inkbirds just to stop any frost damage. So yeah, I haven't disregarded home brewing. It's not all going to be turning up on Brew Bay, although some bits might do, like these. And flip top beer bottles in cases and stuff, I don't know, but because obviously I'm kegged anyway. I have got a surplus of corny kegs as well. I'm not going to be brewing and drinking enough to justify. I did sell some, but yeah, and the mead I'd done years ago is still down here in Demijohn. I rescued from the garage where they'd been stored, because obviously the garage had the roof ripped off, so we've been in a total mess for years. And I'm now spending my time trying to get back to how everyone else has a house. Fucking no chance of that. So yeah, my next project is a plumber's hat. I'm a heating engineer now. Gonna have to do the boiler. I bought a boiler. 625 quid. Should have been over double that. Flue kit. 184 quid, should have been 215. I haven't lost my touch. Everything can always be bought for less than they say. So apart from a frigging car, I need a car, and there's stupid money at the minute. There's still the COVID bullshit with people thinking their second-hand cars are worth 1,500 quid more than they're worth. So yes, that's it. We'll wind up now, unless I start on another tangent. So, cheers and beers for now. Enjoy your brews and keep brewing. And if you aren't, don't abandon it. All is not lost. Many of us rekindle a hobby. Mine is just on temporary hold. It's on a hiatus. Although normally if that happens to a television show in America, it means it's getting cancelled. But yeah, we're not cancelling, we are just postponing indefinitely. Which means the same thing on British television. I wish they'd do that with EastEnders, that is shite. Not that I watch it because I don't pay the licence. So yeah, we've still got some still. That was the last thing I'd done, was stilling. Some more RO water in my still, of course. For cleaning and things, for batteries and your irons, because I like to keep my batteries topped up with good distilled water. I'll turn that fucking thing off now.